All right, everybody, we are live here at the PPC Poker Tour PPC Aruba World Championships main event. I don't know what's wrong with AJ Sacher over there, but
Few do.
But I'll tell you what, the main event going on right now. We just hit the dinner break, fellas. 33 players left. It is getting exciting around here. Reuben, you've been kind of helping cover this thing with me. What are your thoughts about what's happening out there right now?
There have been some really weird table dynamics developing today. Over the course of the day, the big chip stacks have sort of been tilted towards the left side of the room. There have been, at one point during the day, I did a quick chip count of all of the players who I thought had around 300,000 in chips. And one table had 4 of the biggest chip stacks in the room, and 2 tables had no one over 300,000. Mm-hmm. So it was a very weird dynamic. Ronnie Barta was on one of those tables where he was the chip leader with about maybe 220K, and then the feature table had 4 players all up around 300,000. Joan Sandoval, who is the chip leader at the break, she had a chip count of around 450,000, and no one else at her table was over 150.
Yep.
So there have been some really strange table dynamics based on where players have been moved throughout the day. Christian Harder, one of the big pros who's still in the tournament, has changed to his 4th table so far in day 2, and so there have been a lot of interesting table dynamics developing throughout the day.
And AJ, you've been watching this thing too. You just got in here a little bit. What are you seeing out there right now?
Yeah, I mean, Reuben kind of nailed it. It's really interesting when you have a sort of flat chip stack and then a table breaks, and all of a sudden you have to not only adjust to new players, but you're playing a completely different form of poker. You know, you're no longer short stack against short stacks. You are being leaned on by these big stacks, and that's why we're seeing a quick succession of knockouts. As soon as one table breaks and those players go to the next table, 3 people were knocked out within the next orbit because they have to deal with this new form of information in play.
Right. And table 19, just a few tables over from us,
Yep.
has really been just a gross table today. You're looking at guys, Ryan Van Sanford has been over there. Sam Rashid, Alex Roca just got moved off there, actually, sitting next to Ronnie Barta now, but he was sitting there for quite a while. William Beer was over there. Dorian Rios was at that table as well. I mean, and it has just been brutal what's been happening there with all those big stacks on that table, and of course the talent there too. I mean, it has been tough sledding for everybody. You know, and Ben Perez was over there, and you know, and he's a solid player too, and he's just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
when's this table going to break?
It's something interesting that happens in multi-table tournaments where some tables become black holes and suck in the smaller stacks. And we saw that in the early levels today when the 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 stacks got absorbed by the bigger stacks. And sometimes they can stick around and double up for a little bit longer, but sometimes you just get a new player, they get knocked out. You get a new player, they get knocked out, and you have these super heavy tables that look like they're going to buckle under the weight of these giant pyramids. And then you have another table where there just hasn't been a knockout in a level and a half. And even if you're playing well at that table, you're going to fall behind the other tables. It's a very interesting dynamic that a lot of these players have a lot of experience with. We still have at least 5 players who have over 7 digits in live career tournament winnings.
Yeah, this is a great roster of players. Just to run down some of the players that are left in here right now. A couple of main event champions on the PPC Poker Tour, Ed Van Landingham and James Sloat. Sloat now looking pretty good on Player of the Year. Yeah, even if he can just get a cash in here, because most of the other players didn't even make it to day 2.
Right.
So Sloat's in pretty good shape. But we got Christian Harder out there. Ronnie Bart is still in this. Sean Barnett, who's won championships on the tour, is out there. Alex Roca is out there. 2014 champion John Ott is still in the tournament. William Beer, who's been one of the tougher players from Maryland. Ryan Van Sanford is still in this. Sam Rashid is still in there. Stephen Deutsch, who won the main event in Maryland, still in this thing. Mike Beatty is still in there, as is... Dorian Rios.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is going to be fun to finish this up.
Yeah, it just goes to show how good this main event structure is when half of the people left in the tournament are names.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of play. The stacks are really deep, and you get to see that skill and finesse develop over a longer tournament.
Yeah, and Joan Sandoval, of course, out in front of this thing right now. She's right around the 600,000 chip mark. You know, playing great. She's been holding up, but you know, she's been very fortunate too that she's been able to, at least today, dodge a lot of the tougher players. So she's been taking advantage of that for
And
sure.
not just dodge the tougher players, but she had very favorable table draws, as we were talking about. She didn't have a ton of big stack competition. Early in the day, Ronnie Barta was sat directly in front of Christian Harder for a couple hours. That's a tough seat if you're trying to build a chip stack. Joan hasn't had to deal with that. As the tournament progresses forward, obviously as the tournament shrinks and we go down from 4 tables to 3 tables to 2 tables, obviously down to the final table, she is going to have to adjust her play a little bit. But the way that she's been playing, she's been leveraging that chip stack expertly. Every time I walk over, she's got just huge amounts of soldiers attacking the enemy. So it's an impressive sight to behold. Like I would just go over and watch Joan the whole tournament if I could.
Yeah, we're of course 6 players away from the money right now, 33 left. What do you guys, AJ, give me your thoughts. What do we expect for the rest of the night?
Well, dinner break and close to the bubble, they're going to come back, and some of the shorter stacks are going to have to kind of decide whether they want to try and limp into the money versus try to double up, triple up, build a stack and try and make a deeper run into the final table. Those are the types of strategic decisions that they're going to have to make on their own based on their table dynamics and chip stacks. But it's going to be really interesting because it's one of those domino effects. As more people get knocked out, the tables get short-handed, which means more action being driven, and
plays right into the hands of a lot of these pros that know what they're doing.
Especially the ones with big stacks. When a big stack gets short-handed against short stacks that are trying to make the money, they can really accumulate.
Yeah, absolutely. Dorian Rios in particular, yesterday at the end of day 1, was really showcasing that style of play. I would not be surprised if he is going to become much more aggressive as we start towards the bubble.
Yeah, this is going to be a very exciting time coming back here. We're back in play in about 45 minutes here at the Hilton Aruba, the beautiful island. It's amazing.
It is gorgeous.
It is one happy island.
It is one happy island, but it's going to be happier for somebody who's going to be walking out of here with over $130,000.
That's right.
Plus a package to come back here next year. It's going to be an exciting next couple of days, and we're looking forward to bringing it to you. Make sure you guys follow us on the blog at ppcpokertour.com. Click on that live updates tab. Of course, we have everything up on social media too. PPC Poker Tour on Facebook and Twitter. AJ Sacher, Reuben Bresler, Mark Hoke. Thanks for joining us for this update, and we will be speaking to you a little bit later on. Have a great night, everybody.